Well, good afternoon and welcome back to another 30 Days Creative, and back to where I was yesterday, back at Runkerry Beach out at Port Ballantrae. And as you can see, hopefully you see a little bit on my face and a little bit of blue sky, we actually have slightly better light now. The sun does look like it's disappearing in behind sort of a thicker bank of cloud, but fingers crossed we get the odd kind of snarfle of sun, snarfle of light. Why am I back here? Why not? I think one of the challenges with this 30 Days Creative is obviously at the moment we're not traveling, and it's I'm trying to not go too far from home base. Back to where we were yesterday. Now we're not going to go near the outflow today, not least it looks like it's a bit messier and just not as deep, so you don't get the same kind of flow. Hopefully you enjoyed those images from yesterday. I certainly, looking back on them, it was a nice little time out. But yeah, what we'll probably do is we'll probably wander up behind me here, just walk up the beach, probably dip into the dunes every so often. It's just after 1 o'clock. We probably will have the sun for 2.5 hours or so, or at least the potential of sun for a couple of hours. So we'll just go for a dander as always and see if anything pricks our interest. So let's do that dandering thing, eh? Now, another reason why I came back over here, as I was leaving the beach yesterday, I noticed that there has been quite a lot of boulders and rocks deposited up by the dunes. And I actually made quite a favourite iPhone image from this location a couple of years ago. Some beautiful light and some lovely sort of shapes in the rocks and that sand. So I thought I'd come back over and see whether there's anything doing there. And while there probably will be at some point, today's not the day for that. I think a couple of things need to go my way, first of all. Firstly, I think it needs to be a bit windier. We need a lot more sand kind of blowing over those rocks and filling in the gaps. And secondly, well, actually filling in the gaps and also creating some more sort of nice patterns. And then secondly, probably earlier in the day when there hasn't been as many dog walkers about, because it is quite messy in between some of the little sort of boulders and stones. But certainly coming back over here sort of on a windy morning with a little bit of early morning light might yield something. So, but we'll wander on. Always good to come and check these things out just in case there's something to be had. But I don't think anything today. Let's wander on. Okay, so I might be onto something here, and I've just been kind of precariously balancing myself on various rocks. So came across this rock here, and I loved how the curve in the rock, and then what's sort of how the wind has formed around it as well, and you've got sort of the ripples in the sand. The big issue is I'd love to include more of the ripples in the sand, but that would include zooming out, and I think that includes a few more rocks. I did fire off just a couple of handheld shots to sort of check out a few various bits and pieces of composition, and of course having to kind of balance myself before I put my big stupid feet in the frame. I think I've kind of narrowed it down to just keeping the sort of the larger rock and the little tiny rock, and then trying to get as many of those sort of ripples in. But yeah, now the light kind of comes and goes. I'd like to come back a little bit more, because just a little bit of light gives you a little bit more contrast and separation. There's definitely contrast and tone in those ripples. So precariously set up as always. I seem to be pointing down an awful lot now. Maybe it's the new me. Maybe pointing down is the new pointing up or something. Get that on a t-shirt, Nigel. I'm going to carry on working on the composition here, and then when I've honed it in a little bit, I'll get back to you. So I ended up taking a couple of images Kind of one with just the rock and the sort of patterns in the sand, and then one framing the main rock in the middle of, well, kind of in the middle of the frame, and then using some of the outer rocks as kind of slight borders. I don't know. As is always the case with this type of photography, it's, shall we say, an acquired taste. And certainly from a commercial point of view, I think people would rather see unicorns pooping rainbows, to be honest. But which, to be fair, we could actually get some rainbow action out there. There's some weather moving along the horizon. Every so often we get a little bit of light, so you never know. But little scenes like this, I've said it so many times before, scenes like this engage me. Don't get me wrong, beautiful light excites me. But little, small, intimate scenes like this engage me so much more. Throw the images up, and as always, we'll wander on. So I've come across another little scene here, and it's a little bit frustrating because there's, at the bottom of the frame, there's an obvious dog print, so I'm having to kind of cut off part of the frame that I wouldn't want to cut it off. But there were a couple of things that drew my eye to it. Firstly, obviously, lovely ripples, and especially now we're getting some lovely light coming in, and that really does show off the contours and the tones. But it actually, there's ripples in the stone as well. Goodness me, that sun's getting rather nice indeed. And in fact, just out the back of here, we did actually see some rainbows, some lovely light on Runkerry House. Oh, if only you were into regular photography, Nigel, eh? Actually, I might. The light carries on going like that. I might just take a little crafty shot. Anyway, yeah, the ripples in the stone's head kind of almost mimicked the ripples in the sand. And then the more I looked at it, the more it made me think it looked like an alien's head. Kind of crash landed, so the old cogs turning into the old grey matter. But unfortunately, with that dog print at the bottom of the frame where the alien's chin would be, I don't think it really works because I'm having to kind of cut off the bottom, which is unfortunate. But hey, I'll throw the image up anyway, and you can see what you think. Am I a complete crackpot? Am I seeing aliens in the sand? Do you see it too? Right. Oh, that light's lovely. Throw this image up, and we'll wander on. Hang on a minute. Traditional landscape photography? What have you done with Nigel? Actually, it was just doing what I wanted it to do there. Never look a gift stone in the face or something. Don't think that phrase is going to catch on. But the light's lovely, as I said, out on the horizon. We had a little glimpse of a rainbow as well. Lovely sort of laden clouds, sort of purple pink tones. And this stretch of the beach now is completely lovely and smooth, hardly any footprints on it whatsoever. And of course we have a lovely big rock just sitting sort of front and centre. No great shakes, polarizer on, 4-stop on. And what I'm trying to do is, every so often the waves will come up and they'll hang for a little bit. Now at the moment I have a shutter speed of about 1 and a bit seconds. I think I want to kind of lower that a little bit because I want to kind of freeze that sort of holding up at the top of the wave, but at the same time I want to kind of have a little bit of motion in the waves behind. I might even look at exposure stack, so have a shorter wave for maybe that front one. I'm not sure it'll work, and maybe a slightly longer one for the waves behind. But now the light has subdued a little bit, but little gap on the horizon maybe. We might get some nice light out on the where the rainbows were. You never know your luck. But yeah, no great shakes. And this is kind of why I said earlier on that the little sort of intimate scenes engage me a little bit more. Don't get me wrong, this is beautiful. Really enjoy this, and I love light, and I love being at the coast, and I love shitting the coast. But it sometimes feels as though it's... I don't want to use the word easier because the composition here might be flawed, and you might be shouting at the screen going, Nigel, I would have done it this way. But it just seems a little bit more just point, shoot, change your shutter speed every so often. So I'll throw up this more traditional image, and we might see whether we can wander on for one more frame. But beautiful light today, really is lovely. Let's see whether we can get what we want to do with those waves. And then, as I say, we shall wander on. Well guys, I think we'll call it quits there. As always, I'm going to hang around. I think there is a chance that we might get a little break of light. I mean, it's still, look at the clouds out there. It's looking rather nice indeed. So I'm just going to play around here with the waves and the stones and the lovely smooth sand. I'll throw up a couple of images at the end if I manage to grab any, but just a little now, probably in about another 20 minutes. I'm not sure whether we'll end up having any more direct light down here, but we might end up having some light out on the horizon, which might give us a little bit of weather. Who knows? It certainly has that kind of feel. Oh, here comes something now. We're going to just grab a little sneaky shot. You never know, you might even get to see that one. Yeah, so just lovely. The clouds out there are just gorgeous, and not even including any of the stones, just an image just clouds and the waves and the weather. Oh, my favourite time of the year. Sort of leaving autumn and into the winter months along the northern coast. None too shabby. Right guys, well that is another 30 Days Creative done and dusted. November the 23rd. That means we've got, this time next week, it'll be the last one. Wow, in the last week. Crazy. Right, as always, thanks for following along, and until tomorrow, take care, bye-bye.